Lincoln now included in that. Even the far eastern part of Sangamon County, just outside Taylorville. Don't think Taylorville's quite involved in that warning just yet, even though they are right there on the edge. Now included in that. Here's some of your recent detections of lightning. Again, just not a whole lot. Even in this main core, this part about to hit Springfield, there's just nothing reported here within the last several minutes. So, again, not going to have a whole lot of heads up there. Not going to have illumination in the sky to show you that leading edge. It's just going to kind of show up. It's going to get windy. The rain's just going to start pouring down, almost like the storm is kind of disguising itself there. You won't not be able to really tell it's kind of sneaking up on us. It's going to get windy as it gets a little closer there. Still worth noting is some storms off to our south as well. It's not in the area. Got to really pay attention to these storms that are a lot more tornadic than any kind of indication that we are getting here in our immediate area. And that confirmed tornado actually lift into our area. And that continues to stretch all the way down into parts of Macoupin County as well. So preparing for wind, hopefully that's the only thing we really have to deal with here over the next several hours. But of course, things can change in a hurry, and that's why we're here to kind of keep an eye on things with you. We are at 8:29 p.m., so almost about half past the hour here. We are a good 90 minutes into our severe weather event here right now, and so far, we are kind of keeping things at bay here a little bit. Obviously, some windy storms that we're tracking, and he's still getting ready to kind of pass over the I-55 area, so still kind of hitting that first milestone as far as where those storms are at in the area. But right now, there's just better features elsewhere in the state. And we've got Kevin out there as well as he continues to kind of race with that line of storms that is soon to enter into the Springfield area as well.
Yeah, he's on the south side of Springfield.
There you go. So he's on
where
the
he's at now,
south side of Springfield. So we're watching his view. He's kind of out there ahead of that storm. He's kind of passed through it and now is ahead of the path of it. So we'll continue to monitor his view, hear any reports that he has to say here at any point.
Kevin, you want to talk for a little bit?
Yeah, Kevin, if you can hear us and you're ready to go. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so just kind of getting back ahead of the storm, kind of punched through the core of it. To get ahead of it, and I got to tell you, it was not the easiest thing to do when you're driving through a driving rain. Shield of rain that we talked about, that's ahead of that intense line of rain. So I'm kind of like in that view here. So I'm on I-72, just kind of going back to the east. I'm going to be kind of cutting ahead of it here and kind of watching things. So I'm basically going to be heading back towards Macon County here. There is a thought, potentially, we've been kind of watching that cell that's kind of coming out of the St. Louis area. I'll be kind of monitoring that and making a last second judgment call. Maybe when I get into Macon County there, if I want to kind of head south, if I want to head towards portions of Christian County and whatnot. But right now, I'm just traveling back east, getting back ahead of the line. I'll be honest, have not seen anything too impressive here just yet, but it is something definitely to monitor. We're keeping an eye on things. There are going to be some stronger winds ahead of it and right on that leading edge of that heavy precipitation shield. So we'll just continue to keep you up to date here as we continue to basically shoot back here to the east on I-72. We're in Springfield right now, and we're going to get on the exit to go back towards Decatur and then just kind of watch and see if I'm just not seeing anything of real concern as far as on the radar that's really standing out as far as in the circulations. But as we've been mentioning, there things can change. Definitely seems to be kind of weaker south of Springfield, and then you just suddenly kind of get that little line segment that's kind of coming out of what is that, O'Fallon area, where they've got that tornado warning. That seems to be like the one kind of anomaly, and that the thing that kind of sticks out. But we'll see what we get here as this continues to march off to the east, and we'll keep you up to date here in the Storm Tracker. Right now, just some heavy, kind of steady rain here. And we'll send it back to you for now.
All right, so thank you very much, Kevin. We'll continue to keep an eye on your shot there and see what happens out that direction. One thing I want to bring up, already trimming parts of the tornado watch. Cass and Morgan County, you are off the hook there for the tornado watch as the worst of these storms have pushed on through your neck of the woods. So as that initial line tries to move on through, for some places, we'll see that watch trimmed. Of course, once that line kind of gets through the Christian Montgomery County areas, still need to watch those storms just off to your south and west. So maybe not the same kind of treatment there for some of the other places that have storms still in the distance, but already 2 counties off the board there for your tornado watch. And we kind of even noted the radar image here, just the basic reflectivity just doesn't look quite as good as what it did there as those storms entered in. And that was kind of the theory all throughout the day, was that things were going to kind of weaken as it entered the area. And we're seeing that here as things start to march across the I-55 area. We're starting to get some raindrops there on the Springfield camera as well. Still nothing crazy popping up there on the camera, and nothing too notable at the moment. So we will continue to have that off there in the corner. But yeah, right now, kind of just getting the weakest part of the storms here, at least this whole line, even places like Macoupin and Montgomery County, where you do have thunderstorm activity, even that's not warned down that direction. So still getting some sub-severe stuff here in the area. So largely kind of just splitting the gap here for now. And still seeing those 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, I think, is what we're looking at right now. Not quite the widespread 70-mile-an-hour we were seeing earlier. Maybe some pockets here and there that contain that. But aside from that, things kind of coming down here just a little bit as we get closer and closer to the 9 o'clock hour. And it looks like that line is getting a little messy as it enters Springfield. Not quite the nice, straight, even line that we saw there at one point. So maybe just becoming a little more scattered within there. You can still see some of those strong winds as they get ready to move on into parts of Springfield. But overall, a little calmer than what it looked at one point earlier. And we'll go ahead and look in Springfield itself there at SkyCam as things pick up just a little bit. Notice some heavier rain starting to fall. Winds not quite picked up there just yet. Not a whole lot of lightning visible on the camera either. Jacob, you noticing something maybe just off to our north and west a little bit?
Yeah, I want to keep an eye northwest of Lincoln. Starting to see one of those little kinks kind of develop. That's going to be between Mason City and Delavan. And we'll be moving off to the north and east. You kind of watch how it's evolved over the last little bit here. That's that same spot we were kind of watching that Kevin was involved with earlier. And as it's lifting north, kind of get a little more of an S shape there. So that's a sign that there might be something that's going to be moving across 155 towards the Tremont area. Again, I don't think it's strong enough for a tornado warning at this point, but they do have that tornado possible tag on that severe thunderstorm warning still. And that's likely one of the spots that they're watching. The other thing is, and maybe you said this, I wasn't paying too much attention, no more severe thunderstorm warning for the southern half of Sangamon County. As we've expected, these storms moving in, kind of weakening. So it's raining. There's probably some wind, but nothing is impressive here. That spot that's to the north, up towards the Delavan area, really stands out to me. And that could be an issue for northwestern Logan County up to the Emden area. And then it'd be Tazewell County and eventually northwestern McLean County. And looking at the radar reflectivity, I'm actually pretty impressed with that. The last update that came in, you can kind of see that little hook kind of wrapping around there. So that may be something that gets tornado warned before long. So we'll keep an eye on that. Again, that's not in our area. That may graze Logan County with a tornado warning. I don't think we would cut in for that. And I think there you go. There's a tornado warning for that storm we were just talking there. It's going to be for Tazewell County here. That's going to be for that storm that's to the south of the southwest of Delavan. And it's going to carry it north and west towards Tremont and Morton, Mackinac, towards the Deer Creek area. Goes until 9 p.m. Again, out of our area, but certainly something that we will keep an eye on. You just have to watch that line and see what happens. Of interest as well, it looks like radar may be populating some storms developing ahead of it as well, as you see there in McLean County. I don't see anything that's suspicious or fishy to me there, but I know the warm front's in the neighborhood, and so we'll keep an eye on that. It seems like that Delavan storm heading to the north and west is going to be an issue in Tazewell County. Do you want to drop further to the south also and watch the southern storms here? I tell you what, is it me, Seth, or does it seem like southern Illinois has just been walloped repeatedly this year?
Yeah.
They're about to get another bruising down. There are a line of tornado warnings there from southeast St. Louis all the way down towards the Waterloo area and off to the east there. They put that tornado warning pretty far out ahead of that initial line there into Washington and St. Clair and Randolph County, including Nashville. That goes to west of Mount Vernon. We just had some strong wind technically yesterday morning south of Effingham there and some of these areas in Marion County where these storms are heading. So keeping an eye on that. But new tornado warning now. Tazewell County is the closest thing we have. Doesn't include anyone in our area. But we'll see what these storms ahead of it as well. And Route 51 and Interstate 39 do. You can see maybe, is that another spot just south of it trying to pop up there more northeast of Mason City as well there, Seth?
Yeah, kind of just another little feature trying to emerge here just a little bit. And I might have to slow it down, just kind of look at the last few scans. But yeah, there's been, maybe if my radar wants to populate in here, kind of a little glitchy. But yeah, okay, now we go. Yeah, seems like in the last few scans, something has kind of popped up there. And we actually did just get a fresh new scan that maybe kind of removed that one a little bit. That Delavan one is still pretty evident, but maybe that one to the south of it, just not quite as good as what it was there on that previous scan. So watching just barely off to our north and west as these storms kind of just go right around us here. At least the worst of the storms kind of go right around us. And at the moment, we've only got very small portions of Menard and Sangamon County under a severe thunderstorm warning, and a good about western half of Logan County under a severe thunderstorm warning. But other than that, that's the only kind of warning box we have here in the area for the time being. So things very well behaved, kind of surprisingly well behaved at this point in the night. And wow, looks like they really, I don't know if this is what you were talking about just a moment ago, Jacob, but that tornado warning now is bordering Fayette County. So that has really pushed to the north and east just as of a few moments ago. So yeah, watching with interest to see if those storms kind of hold their form. That would eventually be a problem for parts of
the I-70 corridor.
Yeah, the I-70 corridor up and down Fayette County, maybe eventually into kind of the Effingham County area, but lots of distance for these storms to still travel. But obviously some pretty good evidence of rotation within some of those storms that will warrant another look at as we watch those get a little closer and closer to the area.
I mean, they just said warn the whole area because with these storms, that whole area there by O'Fallon, probably 10 miles wide, has shear and rotation in there. It's not a single spot that stands out. So they're just having to say, you know what, straight line winds and could be tornadoes. That's just large polygons covered entire counties.
Yep, kind of just kind of erring on the side of caution there, more or less than anything. Some of those storms you're able to kind of pinpoint where exactly that rotation is, but several spots to watch out for within that cluster of storms. One kind of programming note, too, as we approach the 9 o'clock hour, we are nearing our 9 o'clock newscast at some points, in which case we will not leave you here on the stream, but things may look a little different as we.
Well, I'll just take it into the other room.
Will you take it to the office?
Yeah.
Okay. So Jacob will have you covered either way there on the stream, but it might look like a slightly different formats as we kind of approach some of our late newscasts. But if you're just now jumping in right now, there's not a ton happening immediately in the area, but just on the edges of the area, talking both south and to the north, we have got some action in the form of tornado warnings here. And if you don't mind, Jacob, do you mind popping my picture back up there?
Oh, I apologize.
Yep. No worries at all. So
there.
That's kind of what we're looking at right now. Tornado warning just north of Logan County, tornado warning just south of Montgomery County, but not a whole lot of actual warning coverage here in the area. One thing I want to show, though, that storm has passed on into Springfield now. Let's bring up, I think I had the Bloomington camera up earlier looking at those little pop-up storms. Let's switch it back over to Springfield now, and you will see things have picked up. Not the most intense storm we've ever seen move through in the past, but definitely having the winds pick up there, some pretty heavy rain at times, not a whole lot of lightning again, as mentioned, but at least starting to see the leading edge of that line move on in. And the camera moving around quite a bit there as we start to catch that front line of storms. So that's the view in Springfield. Again, let us know where you're at, kind of what you are seeing right now. And if you've got anything to relay along, because there's a little bit of a lull in the activity here across the central portions of the area, but we are watching with pretty great interest, especially to our south, because that's where those storms kind of have the trajectory to eventually move into the area here at some point, particularly the I-70 region. So in a place like Vandalia, St. Elmo, kind of out in that direction, just kind of keep an eye on these storms, see whether or not they hold their shape as they move farther to the north and east. Eventually, it might be a problem for you, probably going to be a problem for you in some capacity, whether that's in the form of a tornado, a storm capable of a tornado, or just kind of standard severe weather in general. But right now, it's about the only thing to really keep too close of an eye on. We do have that one tornado warning just north and west of Logan County. We'll kind of even drop in on that one again as well with our velocity product.
And I will say this about that. I will say this about that. I know there's some people in the chats that are commenting, hey, I'm in Peoria. I'm up in Morton area. What's going on? Our sister station, WMBD up there, is covering this wall to wall on TV. We kind of just dabble with it because it's not really our area. What we like to talk about, we can do that on the digital side. But if some folks are looking for coverage as well, that's another place to head up there in the Peoria Metro.
Yep, absolutely. And there's some pretty good folks up there who will have you covered there with that severe coverage. So definitely tune in there if you can. You'll get kind of better analysis there, just because with that being outside of the area, don't want to spend too much time on it, but at least want to make people aware of what's happening that direction. Still got some rotation on that storm. Maybe not as good as it was at one point, but still certainly worthy of that warning as that pushes to the north and east. But again, things kind of just look like look a little flat here with that main line moving through the area. We do have some gusty winds, but obviously with no warnings along this line of storms, we're not even talking about 60-mile-an-hour wind gust potential. And you can just even see this doesn't even really have the resemblance of a line anymore. Things have just kind of collapsed. We had that nice rigid kind of a leading edge there at one point. I'll even kind of reverse the radar back in time here a little bit. You can follow that clock right underneath the word storm tracker there on the banner. Things were just a lot more organized earlier, that perfect linear shape, some strong winds along that. And it looks like we've just kind of lost some of that steam as we have marched on to the east. So not quite the same concern for the I-55 region as we had at one point earlier in the nights, but still it's going to be a little gusty. It's going to rain there, somewhat heavy at times. So we'll, of course, keep an eye out for that, but that's not something that we can't handle, as that isn't quite as bad as it looked at one point. I'm going to go ahead and pop up the Springfield camera again, because it is getting a little gusty there in town. As we can see the camera kind of struggling to look down there a little bit. Kind of the wind gets up underneath that camera. So let me see if I can kind of regain control of that, get a better look at the city there, because it doesn't help us too much if we're looking straight up at the sky. I have to fight the wind here a little bit. There we go. We've got the power to pull it back down better into view there. But you can see there's plenty of strong winds if it's starting to force that camera upwards a little bit. Nothing severe, but definitely starting to feel those storms roll on through as we've been awaiting them here for the last couple of hours. So I'd say the storms are now kind of officially entering into that I-55 region. Not a whole lot of concern east of that point, at least for the central part of the area. We're just kind of watching those storms off to the south. They're kind of the thing to pay the most attention to. We're even going to hop in velocity and kind of look at those to see how they progressed over time. Like we noted earlier, there's plenty of indications that there's action going on inside there, even if you can't kind of pinpoint any one exact spot. Maybe some little clusters look a little more tightly organized than others, but just kind of a little noisy within those storms, but still enough to warrant some tornado warnings for the potential for some tornadoes. Of course, when those type of warnings are issued, they are for storms capable of producing a tornado. We don't necessarily have one on the ground whenever those are issued. If we do, that box will appear pink there. So still just seeing the potential for those to turn tornadic at some point in time, but that is not the case right now. Again, if you are just kind of picking up here with us, it is a little past 8:45. Here's a look at the radar picture across central Illinois, where things have kind of held in check for the most part up to this point in the nights. And we expect things to maybe kind of stay this way with this main part of the line, at least kind of that portion up and down I-55 in our immediate area. You don't have to go too far outside of the area to see some more action. Northwest part of the state, we've got warnings all the way from the Quad Cities down into the Peoria region, and that's a tornado warning just to the south and east of the Peoria area, as that one continues to race on to the north and east. You can see things maybe not quite as compact as what they were still, and kind of seeing those contrasting winds that would suggest maybe that rotation potential at some point, but not the tight couplet we had there at one point in time. But again, that is off to our north and west anyway, so not too much concern there. And I'm going to look here real quick. I don't know if there's been any kind of storm reports within the area. And it looks like we've still kind of missed out on some of those up to this point. Some of that stuff down closer to the I-70 region was from, was it just one night ago? No, not last night, but 2 nights ago. Yeah. Saturday morning. Yep.
Early.
So, yeah, there's kind of been relatively safe here in Central Illinois over the last couple of days here, even as this main line starts to move on in. And just pop up lightning there again real quick. There's just not a whole lot of evidence that it's about to storm in your area. You just can't see a whole lot of that lightning. That stuff that kind of popped out in front of the main line in McLean County, you might be getting a little bit of a light show there actually in the Bloomington Normal area. Let's go ahead and I'll pop up one of their cameras in the background too, see if we can get kind of get a light show out that way, even though that is also sub-severe. At least it's more of a light show than we've seen so far for us here. So I've got Uptown Normal punched in here. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. I think I have it anyway. Let me look at, there we go. So maybe we'll see a little bit of lightning there pop up on the camera momentarily, but things kind of still continuing to behave a little bit as we approach the 9 o'clock hour. Again, as we get to 9 o'clock, we'll have to kind of change things up just a little bit. So with the 9 o'clock newscast on X49, you can catch me there live on the air. I'll continue to provide some updates on the severe weather that we're seeing, but for the most part, going to carry out the news portion of that show just because there's not a whole lot of active warnings here in the area. But Jacob will still have you covered. He will kind of move things around a little bit and get himself set up there for when that decides, or for when that time starts to get a little closer.
Yeah, and I think just a little planning. What I'll do is here in a few minutes, I'll just kind of take over so you can get set for your show and whatnot. And we'll sit here, and I know that 9 o'clock, that first 10 minutes typically is pretty quick with, you've got your probably head at the top of the show, I'm assuming, and then you've got your main forecast coming up pretty early in there. So we'll stick around for a good chunk of that, but just kind of talk about things here overall. So that's kind of what we'll deal with here. Again, I think the general thought is these storms do weaken the further east they get. We already are seeing in a good section of that them getting weaker, but you can see there down southwest of Effingham, that red box that comes out, and that's probably the most interesting area of that there. So we'll keep a close eye on how things pan out. While Seth's now starting to transition to getting ready for the 9 o'clock hour, if we can, Seth, I'm going to toss to Kevin real quick, and then we'll talk to him. And then I'll be back with more on that. So we'll see if Kevin is working or not. He's not sure where he's at. I mean, he's cutting in and out pretty good there, but he forgot off there, I think, east of Springfield. I don't know if he's heading south towards Taylorville or what. And I know sometimes you get that there in eastern Sangamon County. If he's heading southeast, he's getting kind of into the river valley there. And sometimes can lose, like we've lost him completely. So never mind, Kevin. We will talk to you at some point later. What we'll do here real quick is pop up the, I'll bring in real quick my computer. Just check out that storm up there in Tazewell County. Not an obvious area of rotation. That shear line has come kind of straight there. We're looking for some kinks and some greens and reds to match. One thing we are dealing with is that we are more parallel to the radar beam of this storm, and so we're kind of switching how it looks here. You can see earlier those greens showed up a lot earlier, and now those reds will pop up. You can see there's a little bit here right over the Tremont area, a little spot to me, something to, that's a really terrible drawing there. Let me try that again. Right in here would be where that circulation that is showing up. And as I flip over to the radar, you kind of keep your eye on that same spot. Again, it kind of sticks out ahead of the storm when you see the shear areas kind of end up at the head ahead of the part of the storm. That's where you have to watch for that tornado potential. That's why that tornado warning is in effect for Tazewell County here. And that goes for another 9 minutes. We'll see if they extend it. That's going to carry through Tremont. I think it stays east of Let me rephrase that. I think it stays west of Mackinac, heads more between Deer Creek and Morton on its path. Maybe the south and east side of Morton would be better in line for that. But at this point, Morton and Deer Creek probably need a shelter. Mackinac still shelter. Tremont, time is up. Delavan, you're all clear. Hopedale, you're all clear from this warning as it moves into the eastern and northeastern parts of Tazewell County, crossing 155, very near Tremont, where that circulation would be. So that's the case. We have really lost Kevin. I mean, he hadn't popped back up in a hot minute there. So we'll see if he ends up coming back at some point. Further to the north and west in northwest Illinois, up on I-70, there is, I'm going to turn my ears off for south as well. There's a tornado warning there in southwest of the Quad Cities. That's going to be between Cambridge and the 80-280 split there towards the Orion area. That's out of our area, but of note. And then we really are just interested in the southern part here to see what happens. It may be trying to break apart from what I can tell slowly here, but there's still enough shear where they've got that tornado warning button up to the Montgomery and Fayette County line there southwest of Vandalia. So you're kind of looking here. It doesn't look as organized to me compared to earlier. You can really see those colors stand out. But that surging wind is in place here, and that's sometimes where you can still get that rotation. So that's going to be between Highland and Carlisle. Big, broad swath of that. Not looking as impressive. Further to the south in that tornado warning in the Clinton and Washington County also needs to be watched. Eventually, that might be a Marion, Fayette County problem. We'll see if that's extended. I'm not a betting man, but if I were to bet, I almost think it may not be extended based on what I'm seeing here. Is those storms also trying to fall apart? One of the reasons for that is that the best instability with these storms, and I'll just kind of bring up the future track instability to kind of show you, maybe get a starting vantage point. You know, instability here, there's not a lot of it. You know, if we went back a little bit, let me bring another one up here, see if this works a little bit better. You know, populate that. I do hear Kevin maybe cut back in now. So we'll see if we get that. You know, there's not a lot of instability in place here over central Illinois where these storms are. You can see those storms are falling apart. So they're kind of running on momentum at this point to see how that momentum continues to be the case. And so you got to have some instability. And you can see where there's no instability. These storms between Lincoln and St. Louis, I mean, they have just fallen apart. We go back even an hour, and I'll just pull that back. How much different things looked an hour ago. We had that sharp red line of windy storms to now in our area, just an area of rain. That storms out by St. Louis. I don't want to discount them, but they're outrunning the best instability. So we'll see how much farther to the east that they make. At this point, we'll keep monitoring, but I think we're on the downward trend with these things, which is kind of what we expected. The highest threat west of I-55. That threat waned as we went off to the east. And so, you know, we were also talking about the threat graphic, and I'll bring up that real fast.
I come in here and say something later.
Here's that severe threat
forecast from that pod.
So that was what we posted earlier today. You know, you can see that severe threat was higher west of Springfield, and it really drops off between Springfield and Champaign there.
Next story.
Probably by 11 to 12, that line will be moving between Decatur and Champaign. It may be a little earlier than that, but it's chugging along. So 10, 11 o'clock, we might start talking about Effingham area if it can hold together, but that severe threat is a lot lower. All right, we do have Kevin now. I hear him clear for a little bit. So, Kevin, I've got your shot up. You want to talk to us a little bit? Maybe give me 90 seconds if you can while I fix some things. Tell us where you are and what you're seeing.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I mean, I've just been in rain this whole time. I was trying to navigate a way to get south, but there's no great easy way to kind of get south and east from my location. So I'm actually driving through Christian County here. I'm heading towards Taylorville, and we're just going to see if those southern cells did anything or increased a little bit more. I was at least going to try to position myself back in play for that. But as you've been kind of talking about there, maybe some weakening from what it was earlier. But I guess I'm going to continue. I'm already down. I'm already down here, and as you know, if you drive through Christian County, not a whole lot of normal like north, south, east, west. A lot of kind of southeast, northwest, northeast kind of roads. So I'm just kind of cutting through here and reevaluate. I've not been too impressed with anything. Just been in a shield of rain, heavy rain. I'll say this: be careful in some areas where you've had a lot of rain, because some ponding of water on roadways and whatnot. That's the only thing that I mentioned, but I'll say this: probably just watch those storms coming in from the south and see if I need to make a play a little bit more closer to I-70 or not. But we'll continue to keep you up to date here. I know you guys are going to start the 9 o'clock newscast, but boy, we've kind of split the difference with severe storms and tornado warnings to our north and to our south, and we're kind of right in the middle right now, just basically a lot of heavy rain. So I'll update you if I get ahead of anything. In the meantime, we'll send it back to you there in the studio.
All right, Kevin, we're a few minutes from the newscast. So I don't know if you're going to talk during the newscast. Seth, have you organized if Kevin's going to be in at all?
He certainly can. I'll probably have him in the.
Okay, he says Kevin says doesn't need him.
Don't do,
so
okay.
We might bring your shot up, Kevin, but you and I might talk a little bit. We'll see, because we're going to keep the digital stream going. I will say this, Kevin: if you get to the point here where you get to Taylorville and nothing's happening, you can always stop by Bill's Toasty, 24 hours a day. They got burgers there that are real good. You won't be disappointed. So that's my tip of the day with that. With that, Kevin, I'm going to let you go, and we'll check back on, and I'm going to take things up to our digital room and kind of monitor things, and then we'll be getting the newscast. We are about 100 seconds away from that, so we'll have Seth talk, and I'll bring him in on TV, and we'll set that up here. So, Seth, you are off of my stuff, and we'll watch the beginning of the newscast before we then cut to some more coverage here in a bit as we continue to watch Kevin. And that will take a minute of me setting stuff up here. So I'll put 6, the production switcher, and have that ready to roll. And we'll be able to see things carry on through. Did get a new severe thunderstorm warning while we're at it real fast here. McLean County, including the city of Bloomington Normal, that's going to be for those storms that are off to the west, something that we will keep an eye on and continue to monitor for a little bit here. So that's going to carry us to the northeast. That storm does strike me as a little more impressive as well in the Mackinac area. There's that little spot between Tremont and Deer Creek moving off. Again, I think that cuts just east of Morton, more towards the Deer Creek area. If there's an extension to that warning, it is going to carry up more into the Eureka and into the Washington, east of Washington, I think. But it'll be more into Woodford County, what I meant to say there, if that continues in that direction. I don't think it's a McLean County issue at this point. And nothing else sticks out to me further down the line until we get down here towards the areas east of St. Louis. With that, I'm going to briefly pause my commentary on this. Our newscast is about 20 seconds away, so we're going to cut over to our newscast and allow you to listen into the beginning with Amanda Brennan and Seth as well, and we'll listen to that first chunk of news. I know there's some big news updates around here, and then as well, we will let Seth do his forecast, and then we'll continue our digital coverage here momentarily. With that, WCIX News at 9 starts right now.
This is your WCIA3 forecast first, sponsored by Route 66 Solar.
Well, storms have now entered into the area, but things may be overall pretty weak here right now in central Illinois. We look at the Springfield camera. Yeah, you can see some raindrops, maybe just a little bit of movement there on the camera. But so far, things kind of behaving themselves, at least up until this point in time. Here's a look at your radar picture here across the region. We've only really got one warning in the area, and it's a pretty new one, too. This is for parts of McLean County. That does include the Bloomington Normal area. We got just a little bits of kind of those pop-up storms that have emerged here from ahead of the line. And this storm does have a tornado possible tag on it, so that will be worth watching here as we move ahead in time. Just kind of pop-up velocity. You can kind of see a few signatures there. That might suggest we could have some rotation there at some point in time. Here's your latest tornado watch. All areas highlighted there in the yellow. This is in effect until 11 p.m. Already seen that trim here just a little bit. We will continue to cover these storms and kind of provide the latest on what's supposed to happen here through the rest of the night coming up as WCIA News at 9 o'clock starts right now.
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 9 on X49.
Good evening. I'm Amanda Brennan. Roads just recently reopened after more than a day of being closed following a deadly plane crash between Coles and Cumberland counties. Federal officials have been on scene today investigating what could have happened yesterday. Multiple agencies have confirmed 4 people were on board the single-engine plane when it crashed about 10 miles south of Mattoon around 10 in the morning. State police say all of the passengers were from Menominee, Wisconsin. That's just about an hour east of Minneapolis. The Coles County coroner has identified the victims as 46-year-old Ross Nelson, 45-year-old Ramey Rundle, 36-year-old Courtney Morrow, and 48-year-old Michael Morrow. The online tracker system called FlightAware shows the plane taking off from Kentucky earlier in the day before crashing in central Illinois about an hour later. That's when first responders arrived to the scene and when witnesses saw smoke. Officials say initial investigation shows the plane flew into power lines before hitting the ground. As we learn more, we'll keep you posted on air and online at WCIA.com. Now to our next top story this evening. Our weather team is tracking severe storms moving across central Illinois. Some western counties under a tornado watch already. So with that, let's bring in meteorologist Seth Bonoff. So Seth, how are things looking now?
Well, it's funny you ask right when you did, Amanda, because at the top of the show, our tornado watch looked different than it does right now. We've actually added 3 counties to that watch within the last several seconds. Livingston, Ford, and Iroquois counties now included in that tornado watch until 11 p.m. Talked about at the top of the show some of those little pop-up storms in the McLean County area. Have to think that's exactly what's kind of allowing this tornado watch to continue off to the east. We do actually have a tornado-warned storm just off to the north and west of the area. So it'll be this particular portion of the kind of overall line of storms to watch as we move ahead in time. Again, some interesting features in there with the winds, so we'll have to kind of monitor the northern part of the area with some of those storms. But also to be mentioned as well, let's look down to our south where things have been a little more tornadic in nature as well. We still have a pair of tornado warnings down that direction, just along I-70 southwest of Fayette County. The rotation on some of those has lost its luster just a little bit within the last several scans. But that'll be something we need to continue to watch out for through the rest of the nights. SPC's latest outlook does have a 4 out of 10 tornado risk for those places highlighted in yellow. We'll continue to watch that severe threat as we get deeper into the evening. Storms should be weakening like they kind of have already up to this point in time. But we'll still need to track things here over the next couple of hours. Amanda, back over to you.
Seth, thank you. Turning now to other headlines. 3 people are dead after an SUV left the road, hit a tree, and burst into flames early this morning. This happened near East Wayne and Cobb Boulevards in Kankakee just after 1 a.m. Officials say they tried pulling the passengers out of the car but couldn't overcome how strong the fire had gotten. All 3 people were in their 40s and from Kankakee. Officials are continuing to investigate the accident. And now to Macon County, where police are investigating after 1 person was shot near Milliken's campus this morning. Students got a message around 11:45 alerting them to an investigation and asking them to avoid the area near the University Corner Store that's near West Main Street and Oakland Avenue in Decatur. Officers say 1 man was hurt and taken to the hospital. No arrests have been made at this time. If you know anything, contact the police department. And also in Decatur, 1 person lucky to be alive after a fire thanks to the quick response from emergency crews. They found a paralyzed individual partially inside the home right when they arrived. Now this happened near East Decatur and South Stone Streets last night around 7:20. While some first responders were treating the victim and taking them to the hospital, others started putting out the kitchen fire before it spread any further. They confirmed everyone was evacuated and then continued investigating the cause. The Red Cross is now helping the 2 people who are displaced. Life for a 7th grader in Champaign County hasn't been the same ever since hearing life-changing news over his spring break. What started as a minor ache has turned into something he never imagined. WCI3's Gabriela Mirando talked with the family today and explains the diagnosis.
The Robbins household's usual discussions of Fortnite and Battlefield have been overshadowed by something else.
It's been rough.
A little over a month ago, 13-year-old Devin Robbins told his dad his knee hurt.
I initially was like, you slept on it wrong. Maybe you twisted it going up the stairs at school or something like that.
An X-ray, MRI, and biopsy showed he had a type of bone cancer called osteosarcoma.
I mostly put it out of my mind. Try not to think about it. Because I'm most likely gonna beat it.
He got the news over spring break. Ever since then, his life has been turned upside down. Classes have been replaced by chemo. 29 weeks of it.
We normally don't have any medical issues in the family, so this coming out of left field was pretty shocking.
Come back.
In the midst of physical pain and exhaustion, Devin says the support of family and friends is keeping him going. His positivity is also helping the rest of his family as they navigate this new chapter.
He's definitely taking it well for his age and stuff.
Devin says, all things considered, he's feeling pretty good. He says overall pain has gone down ever since his first round of chemo and is hopeful that continues.
He just got home from his second round of chemo and has 27 more weeks to go. Well, it's been 26 years since the shooting at Columbine High School that changed our country forever. How current students remember the 13 victims. Plus, teenagers right here in Champaign gave back this weekend as well. Why they honored a former student who was also involved in a school shooting several years ago. That and more ahead. But first, turning to this weather, I mean, these watches are being put out there every couple of seconds.
Every time you and I do a new turn of talking to each other, the watches change. Literally in the last couple of minutes. This is a good one, though. We have actually eliminated a couple of counties from the watch. Menard and Sangamon County no longer included in it. But we did add 3 more counties up there to the north as well. The night not over with just yet. Still tracking those storms as they move east. Expecting some weakening to take place, but there's still some complications there. We'll let you know about that more coming up after this.
All right, Tim, for those folks that are on now, again, we're in the middle of our newscast now, so during commercial breaks, I'm just going to cut in and keep watching things here for a few bits. We'll catch Seth's forecast momentarily, and then our digital coverage will resume here as we continue. Still watching this tornadic storm here coming into Woodford County. It has crossed I-74 between Morton and Goodfield. Radar indicated at this point it's going to be near Deer Creek, just west of Goodfield. For reference, Busy Corner, if you ever heard of that restaurant, that's in Goodfield there. Just west of there and north of there is where that tornado is heading. And we look for those little areas of rotation. It was more obvious here earlier, about 5-10 minutes ago. As we've moved that circulation up, then the radar not picking up as well of any sort of circulation from that. But farther to the northwest of us, there's been a number of confirmed tornadoes, actually. One in the Geneseo area, another one to the west of there as well. So that's what we'll be dealing with for a little bit. So it's kind of what we're continuing to monitor here. Again, our area, the only warning we have is a severe thunderstorm warning for McLean County. But as you heard Seth talk about, that tornado watch was extended into Livingston, Ford, and Iroquois County, and as well as the Kankakee County and points to the north and west. I don't think it's going to be an I-57 Champaign problem south, and I think it was a little aggressive to include Ford and Iroquois County, but it's there. We'll keep an eye on things as that line segment moves to the north and east. And Seth's graphics showed Menard and Sangamon County. Mine is not updated yet, but that'll be a change that you'll see here momentarily before long as this line of storms continues to work its way off to the north and east. Whenever you're going.
About 15 seconds.
15 seconds out. All right. So with that being said, we're going to set it back over to our newscast here and just continue. Seth is going to take it away with the forecast. And then once that hits that next commercial break, we will continue our digital coverage to 9:30 before we'll hear from Seth again. With that, are you here at the pod?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. With that, Seth, take it away.
Now, Central Illinois' most accurate forecast with meteorologist Seth Volnoff.
All right, so we are continuing to monitor our storms as they start to progress east of I-55 right now, and even got a new tornado watch, including some counties up there to our northern part of the viewing area. That does include parts of McLean County. As we look on, you can see Bloomington. Not a whole lot happening there right now. We talked a lot about this on our stream, though. There's not a whole lot of lightning within these storms, and to be honest, at the moment, there's not a whole lot of severe activity immediately in the area, but there's still several features to keep an eye out for as we move ahead in time. Severe thunderstorm warning for the western half of McLean County. This one has a tornado possible tag on it. We'll even let this radar kind of play out here in motion so you can kind of see the northeast trajectory here with some of these storms. But again, tornado watch has been expanded now to include our counties up there to the north and east. That includes Livingston, Ford, and Iroquois counties. So just kind of watching how the northern part of these storms progress here with time, even tossing on our velocity picture here. You can see definitely some strong winds within there as well. Not quite seeing some tight rotations there that we saw at one point, although we do have one tornado warning just northwest of the area right now. And speaking of just outside the area, let's look at another part of the area just off to our south, where we still maintain a couple of tornado warnings just outside, kind of south of I-70. Again, rotation not quite as defined within those storms as it was at one point in the night. We'll have to monitor these as we go ahead in time, as those are kind of tracking just along the I-70 corridor. So may see some of those severe storms enter parts of Fayette and Effingham counties here before too long. Let's get a check at that tornado watch, which surprisingly has not changed since the last time we talked about it. And you can see they're trimming some of those counties out there across the west as that line moves on through. So Cass, Morgan, Menard, and Sangamon out of the tornado watch. Everywhere else, your watch continues till 11 p.m., except Livingston, Ford, Iroquois counties. They had to kind of issue a separate tornado watch due to it being a different office. That's technically until 4 a.m. I don't predict things are going to maybe carry over that deep into the night, but that'll be something that we will watch here and see how those storms progress. Latest from the SPC has kind of moved our tornado risk a little bit as that line has moved ahead, but you can notice things get a little weaker as we move on off to the east. Let's get the latest here from our future track model as well, which shows those storms kind of breaking up like they have here already as they continue to march east. Maybe we get a little bit of resurgence there from those southern storms, but we tend to think that the threat is going to lower here as we continue to march off that direction. And a lot of our forecast still holds here with those strongest winds kind of starting to lower that number as we cross the I-57 region. We tend to think that things will not be quite as intense as we start to move on off to the east. And here's the kind of latest on the arrival of storms. You've already kind of gotten halfway through. This graphic may not be until about 10 p.m. for some of you east of I-57, whenever you actually start to confront some of those storms, which we will kind of watch and see how things play out here through the nights. Good thing is, once we get through tonight, once that severe threat is over with, we've kind of got ourselves a pretty nice start to the week ahead. Just look at some of these high temperatures as we move on into the next several days. We've got the 70s and 80s back on the board as we head on into the beginning of the new week here. So looking forward to some nice warm temperatures. Let's get you a good look here at your 7-day forecast just to see what's ahead. Again, mainly watching through the night tonight, kind of keeping an eye on our severe threat. So maybe even as deep into the night as midnight there. But after that, 70s and 80s with some sunshine. I don't think anybody's going to complain about that after a little bit of a messy holiday weekend.
Yeah, looking forward to next weekend.
Right.
Seth, thank you. We have a look at your national news next.
All right, thanks there, Seth. Just kind of bring it back with the newscast here, and that's going to wrap up what we do with that. So we got our fix of Seth and Amanda, and it will be myself, Jacob Dickey here, kind of continue with things, and then we'll kind of check in on Kevin real fast since we're in the commercial. I'm not going to talk to him, but you can see he's working his way on through. Let's see if we can figure out where he is. Is he to Taylorville? I'm trying to see. He's kind of down here. I'll take a gander and a guess as he comes on through. He might be to Taylorville by now. No, it's not Taylorville.
No, that's all right. Either way.
We'll keep an eye and see where he's at as he continues to work his way south at east. I'm having a little trouble seeing on the screen. And I cannot hear him either, but that's okay. And that's because I'm not listening to Kevin if you are. So we'll keep an eye on Kevin's shot. He's working his way southeast towards Taylorville. It's hard for me to tell. Is he coming in to... If I can spot him on the map real quick here. And somebody in the stream might be able to identify him as well based on that shot. He's pulled into Casey's. That's a good sign. He'll be getting some gas, and we'll check back with him later. All right, so I'm going to continue this coverage here, and Seth will leave you be for the newscast. Kevin's getting gas. That's what he's doing. So, as we sit here, we're watching those storms. Keeping an eye down south. The National Weather Service has indicated they do not plan to extend those tornado warnings down towards southwest of our area. Instead, they have opted for a severe thunderstorm warning. Now, they did put a tornado possible tag on it. That tornado possible tag is just a indication that we could see something, but more looking towards that wind threat. And so that's something that we'll keep an eye on here for a little bit while longer. So I don't expect this to be an issue for Fayette County or even into Effingham County for a tornado threat. We'll watch in the middle here. This big gap of just rain shower activity continues. And then as we carry further to the north, then just checking a few little pieces of info here. Carrying further to the north, the severe thunderstorm warning for McLean County has been allowed to drop. Still have this tornado warning for Woodford County here. That has already passed through the Eureka area. Now it's on towards Roanoke and eventually going to catch up to potentially northwestern Livingston County. I don't know if it'll make it that far. In fact, they just dropped that tornado warning there for Woodford County. So we have no active warnings on the board here in the area. And so what that may mean is here in the next few minutes, we'll kind of keep an eye on the southern things. Those next few minutes, we might be able to just end our digital coverage for the night, but we still can kind of look around and keep an eye on things. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a view from north to south across the state and talk about things. There was an earlier confirmed tornado just to the east of the Quad Cities with these storms, a number of tornado warnings lined up there. That's going to be from Bureau County off towards Geneseo, points to the north there, including Henry, Whiteside, Rock Island counties. It's going to be between I-80 and I-88 west of LaSalle County. It's kind of where these storms are. And I'll show you something that stuck out earlier, especially as we were looking to the west of Geneseo, is we actually saw in our debris tracker, it's been the first one I've seen in the state all day. You can see that little spot that pops up here just west of Geneseo. That actually is tornadic debris right there. So that did cross I-80 between Edford to the west of Geneseo there, and then crossed US 6. And as it did so, then it actually lifted a little bit northwest towards the Hannah area before I think then it got shoved to the northeast towards the town of Shady Beach, Phoenix. These are some probably more townships than they are, but there's an earlier tornado confirmed there, and some other tornadoes have been confirmed as well. But that's the one thing that stuck out to me with that. I tend to think myself that our severe threat really is from this point on waning pretty quickly across our viewing area. We're still going to keep an eye on these storms in McLean County and Livingston County as they move off to the north and east along I-55. But I don't think that tornado watch really was all that necessary for Livingston, Fort, and Iroquois County. It's in place. That's fine. Abundance of caution is okay. But with the way the instability is, there's just not much instability in place here. If these storms were 3-4 hours earlier, I think we'd be dealing with a different story. But instead, because the sun has gone down, we're losing that instability for the day. They're not as much of a problem. And then we're down to just one severe thunderstorm warning then just south of our area that includes Marion County. I know we got a lot of folks in Marion County that watch. We had Kinmundy get hit real hard with some storms Friday night, early Saturday morning, and that continued off into Clay County, Flora, up towards Louisville, Ingraham, and into the Newton area. That storm, the strongest one, but it's probably on the downward swing. We drop further to the south then, tornado warning now. This is going to be in the Perryville, Missouri area, and in its course, going to head to the north and east, more east-northeast. That'll be heading towards the Carbondale area potentially. There's more instability to work with down there, so these storms might survive a little longer. And then Cape G, you can see this storm here to the southwest of there. We're moving into southern Illinois as well, and further down that line. Then as I pull up the regional radar, still clusters of storms continue with some severe thunderstorm warnings in Arkansas. But the only active tornado warnings on either side of our viewing area, northwest Illinois to the east of the Quad Cities, and then down in southern Illinois. If that continues again, that'll make it towards the Carbondale area. Let's check real quick here. And I know there was at one point a flood watch that was in place. Even the way things are looking now, you can see Macoupin, Montgomery, and Fayette counties under that flood watch. That's not going to be an issue for much longer. And these storms are continuing to push on through. And let's see if I can get some storm total rain amounts out here. Just kind of see how things are with that. We were kind of thinking we get 1 to 3 inches of rain out of this system. And some areas down south of Effingham just last night had 1 to 2 and whatnot. It'll take a minute sometimes for the data to populate on there, but that's something that we'll keep an eye on and just kind of keep checking on in here and whatnot. So that's the scoop with that. I think what we're going to do is we're going to try and go 10 more minutes on our digital stream, and then we'll bring Seth back in and we'll bring Kevin back in for kind of a final close. There we go. That data finally coming on in. Typically, when you see those yellows and oranges, we're now in the 1 to 2 inch range here And so I'll click on one of those spots and you kind of get an idea. There's a couple of spots that are estimated in the last couple of days in the 3-inch range. So you see that yellow typically falls in the 1 to 2. And we've had that first batch went down south of I-70. And it does seem like this system has maybe brought us a little less rain than expected, but also that warm front lifting north helped to spread it out a little bit more. If we were to combine the areas that have seen that rain, we would certainly be maybe in some more trouble. It's been a really significant flooding event for Southwest Missouri down through Oklahoma. And I know there's been fatalities from the flash flooding, both in the Oklahoma City area and in the Tulsa area. So really lucky that we are not dealing with something like that, but there certainly has been some of that rain that is out there. Let's go back and just kind of take a look at the area here. At this point, I think we're really looking good for the WCIA area. And I'm just going to check real quick while we leave that shot up. I can pull up some other information and keep an eye on things. So 9/21, just going to put an update on my Facebook page real quick here. So we're just looking at some general rain and thunder. And we'll get that on there. And then I'm going to check as well. Facebook comments. We got a lot of folks watching too. I always tell you what, one of my favorite things about being on these digital streams is seeing people where they are from. And so that's something that we can always just kind of peek in and check on, see if there's any chat. Can you post the chat on that?
I found out too. I think the watch till 4 a.m. may have been an accident.
I think it's supposed to be till 1 a.m.
It was supposed to be 1. So
yeah, but cool. Just because the Storm Prediction Center says, hey, the watch goes until this point, doesn't mean the local National Weather Services can't cancel it earlier than that. So I figured I'd just pop on in. Here's the plan. We are going to wrap up. I'll wait till 9:30. We'll bring Kevin on and just see what he's doing. He's still at Casey's. And then maybe we'll talk to him. We'll give you some last thoughts. And I think we'll wrap this coverage up because I personally don't think there's going to be anything that comes from it at this point. I think we're done.
We talked about it hitting a wall and weakening. Didn't expect this. It just kind of fizzled out.
Be some nice rain, perhaps. But, there's no instability to work with here. So that's the case. 2-3 hours earlier, been a different story, I think. So that's the case. We still got Amanda. She's got another 7 minutes of news, and then we'll.
Are you still on stream?
We're still on our stream, yeah.
Oh, hi, everyone.
I can't hear you, but Amanda's in there. She said hi to everyone in the stream if you care. Anyways, I like seeing where people are checking in from. So Effingham, Spring Valley, Charleston, Bement, Herrick. I love that. Keep them coming, and we'll check some here at the end of our digital fun. Is that the way to say it, Seth? Some digital extravaganza with storm coverage here. At this point, we're just we're stretching for time, filling for time, I think is what we call this in the biz. So let me get this update out real quick here. So we got that. And 9:25 on the dot now with our stream as we watch things here. You can always chime in too. Sometimes we do notice that these digital streams can have a little delay on them. So if that's the case as well, hey, 9:25, check your clock when you hear that, see what time it is. It can sometimes be 30 seconds to a minute delay. We've kind of been exploring that, and that's something to think about when you got severe weather coverage. That is the case. Take a look there in Northwest Illinois. I'd just like to check those other tornado warnings out again in our WCIA 3 area. I think it's going to be hard to get any more warnings here at this point. I really think it's going to be a struggle with that. Tasha said she heard Amanda. That's good. It is Easter, so that is something. But that's those storms that are in Northwest Illinois. and still tornado warning. There may be an hour left with those storms before something happens. Then we flip over to Max 1 here. I'm going to put that back on and move things around and finagle with it. That's kind of like what we're dealing with here. Down the line, Southern Illinois, those tornado warnings in the St. Louis area, all gone. We're just left with severe thunderstorm warnings. Now, they do have a tornado possible tag on it. That's for the storms that are coming in between Mount Vernon and Salem here. One lightning bolt showing up. That's it. I mean, these storms do not have much instability at all. And as I look at the velocity product here, kind of get an idea. The only reason that tornado possible tag is in place, there might be two. One, because the radar beam at this location is actually pretty high up. And so we're in this no man's zone where it's hard to see. And two, the orientation of the actual shear zone in there is that way. And let me remove the arrow on it. Take the arrowhead off. That's the orientation of the arrow where our wind shear is showing up. The storm itself, though, is oriented more vertical north-south. And so just because we've got that here, you're going to keep that tag on there, but there's probably not going to be much more chance for wind on this storm either as it moves on through. Maybe you can kind of see it a little bit better there south of Centralia. Again, some of those greens and reds, but we're looking high in the storm. We don't get a great view. Sometimes these radar beams, when they're 8,000 feet up, can look above what actually is happening. And that may be the case as we have to work between radars there to see what's going on. So perhaps there's some weak rotation up in the mid-levels aloft. Typically, if you're having rotation closer to the ground, you're going to have stronger rotation in the mid-levels. That's probably a sign more of just some wind potential there. I think that tornadoes are really winding down. Far southern Illinois, I do not think that's the case, though. There's more instability in the atmosphere. The atmosphere is more unstable as this storm moves on in them. It's probably 30 to 45 minutes from the Carbondale area here. It's crossing the Mississippi River now, Grand Tower, Sand Ridge area there, west of Carbondale. With time, then that may move towards the Carbondale area. So we'll keep an eye on that from afar. But then there's some of those other storms down the way that are severe thunderstorm warnings. So playing tappy toes here. Seth is about to wrap up his last bit, and then we'll just do a final goodbye from him. Do a final goodbye as well. That tornado watch does continue for most of us until 11 p.m. Livingston, Fort Iroquois County. Technically, it says 4 a.m. I do not think it lasts until 4 a.m. I think it'll be surprising to see it get to midnight the way things look here at this point. And they did extend that just to kind of cover things if those storms were to overperform, but they have not. They've been about as forecasted. And so, when they first were talking about that, there was 4 or 5 tornado warnings lined up between Quad Cities and Lincoln. Now there's none. I guess there's technically 2, but they're up in the Quad Cities, and that's been the case of where that's issued. So that is kind of what has been going on. I think they might be done. I can't tell. I'm going to walk in and check real quick here. Not done yet, but we'll send it to Seth real quick for a brief minute to have some thoughts.
Here's a quick final check of your forecast. Watching that tornado watch through the night. So those storms do appear overall to be weakening quite a bit here. Over your 7-day forecast, things look pretty good as we'll see 70s and 80s to start the week.
Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.
All right, so there's a little chance for Seth to give the forecast there. And with that, then the 9 o'clock newscast is over. So it is just you and I at this point running the digital table. I think the interesting thing, what's the numbers on our stream? I mean, we've got still 1,600 folks, which is pretty impressive. It's fun to see. Folks just like to check in and chime in and things of that. And then we also do have Kevin still out there. He's driving around somewhere. Who knows what he's doing these days? There's his shot. I don't even know if Kevin can hear us or not. Can you hear us, Kevin, at all?
Very faintly can hear him, yeah.
Say again?
Kevin, we can hear you, but it sounds like you're a little.
Yeah, maybe his mic slipped down his jacket or something.
Yeah, it sounds like your mic's just a little.
I got your mic
far
on
away.
now, but he's fixing something. I think he's dropped some pizza on the microphone, maybe.
Probably it. Yeah.
That might have been what he did. Sounds like he's adjusting things, and wow.
There we
Believe
go.
it or
There
not, I was unable to get pizza. I did make a little bit of a stop with the old trusty Casey's, the fine folks at the Casey's there. Unfortunately, my choice of pizza was unavailable, so I had to go with the next best thing, which would be the chicken tenders that were sitting there staring me in the face. So
they actually had chicken tenders late at night, Kevin. Is that what you're saying? I think that's a rarity. I've not seen that.
No, very rare. I think they might have been at the end of their enjoy. But I'm not kidding. I'm pretty sure the box said, "Please enjoy by 9:29 p.m." Take a look at your watches there, folks. I'm doing my best here to enjoy them by 9:29. But yeah, my choice of sausage pizza was not there. There were 2 pepperoni slices. I opted for the chicken tenders. I was actually in the full town of Stonington. And that's the Casey's I stopped at. I was initially trying to cut down there. I was going to see if I would catch that stuff down south, but it proves troublesome to dive south and east through Christian County. When you're wanting to get somewhere in a quicker manner, it's kind of tough to do so. So started going southeast, and then I said nope. And now I'm going back northeast, and I've made my way into, I guess I'm in Blue Mound now.
You in Blue Mound? You're not quite to Booty
Back,
yet, though.
Towards Decatur. Yeah. No, not quite. But we'll be approaching there. Like I've been in rain for 2.5 hours straight. So, but that's kind of the right now, and we're just kind of rolling through, and yeah, I'm just enjoying my 2 minutes old chicken tenders right now.
2 minutes old chicken tenders. Tell you what, I thought you were going to sneak into Taylorville, Kevin, because they got a good burger place down there, Bill's Toasty, and they're a place that are actually, they've been around forever, and they're 24 hours, which is pretty incredible. Small hole in the wall. I know you like a good burger.
Yeah, on that, but I'd be even later getting home. Here we are. It's Easter Sunday, and I thought, well, maybe I'll get home and at a decent hour, before midnight. But yeah, I'll catch them on the next go around. We've shameless plug coming up here. We got a long couple of days coming up on the finishing touches on our severe weather special that airs on Wednesday. So we want you to all tune in at 5:30 or 6:30 p.m. for that. And so if you're watching this here, you're obviously some kind of a severe weather enthusiast and nut. So,
and we will stream that,
us
Kevin.
Here, talk about rain showers. Say it again.
We will stream that on our digital platforms as well.
Yeah, it'll be streaming on there. So even if you're not in our area, you can watch it pretty much where you're watching us right now. And so it's a nice 30-minute special. And so definitely tune in for that. So a little shameless plug since we don't have a whole lot going on. So quit bothering me. I got to get back to my chicken tenders.
All right, Kevin, we'll leave you alone.
Okay.
And I think we're going to quit bothering Seth, too, because, Seth, you just said you're going to start working on your stories for that, right?
Yeah, if I've only got 48 hours left to turn them in, I didn't know that. I thought it was next Wednesday.
We got to do some work on that. It's not like we
got it all done ahead of time.
But we're still listening to Kevin. He's not seeming to be bothered by that. So
Right.
I think he thinks we're going to get things done in a timely fashion there.
One thing I do find a little funny about this year's special is it's a little later than normal. We've had a lot of severe weather events already, so kind of already gotten the rehearsal on how to handle some of this stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those wrap up. Hey, here's what to expect in severe weather that you should already know.
Right. This is the test, not the lesson.
That's a great way to put it here. And there's some great stories in there too. It's not just about being severe weather prepared. We've got some stories talking about a new program that's coming, a new partnership that's coming, and some of those things to talk about that just good education things. I think folks will find it to be very enjoyable overall. And so again, that's going to be Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. And we'll have that on WCIA. It's also going to stream on our digital platforms as well. So that'll be something that's exciting for that. Seth, do you want to give the big news?
Yeah.
You want to talk about that? Let me bring up your.
Switch us over here.
This is some really exciting news. I think folks will be thrilled about.
That tornado watch, not so mighty anymore. In fact, a big bite has been taken out of it. There's still a few counties kind of technically included in it, but you can tell things have really quieted down. Some of those are just kind of out there for technicality purposes with storms still in the vicinity. But the main corridor between 55 and 57, those watches, which were put out for a precautionary measure, now have been eliminated, wiped off the map there. So we are looking in pretty good shape. And in fact, I believe, if I have the coverage areas correctly, Lincoln does not have any watch here in our area. Those are just St. Louis and Chicago watches right now. So that's
and Quad Cities. Oh, and our viewing area. Yeah. I think Lincoln just said all of the counties. They're like, we're done.
So, yep, looks like things have wrapped up pretty good.
However,
go ahead.
I will say this: NWS in Central Illinois, they are analyzing for a potential additional watch in southeastern Illinois.
Okay.
So that's probably going to be for areas to the south of us. I'll pull up my graphic here. I've been talking in the stream about that tornado warning now in the Carbondale area, and there's that tornado warning down there, including Southern Illinois University, the campus, and Carbondale, and the city of Carbondale, as well as Grand Tower, Murfreesboro in that, for that storm coming out of Missouri. That's been a pretty impressive storm. So theoretically, with those warnings there south of Effingham in Marion County, it wouldn't be entirely out of the question to me to where we see a tornado watch issued and it includes areas south of our viewing area. Maybe it were to pull in Jasper Crawford County. That'd be the most I would see. I wouldn't see it being Effingham County. I wouldn't see it being really anywhere else in our viewing area, but that'd be down for friends down in Clay County, down towards Lawrenceville, Olney, Fairfield, Flora. That'd be the area to keep an eye on it. But again, instability is not that impressive out there, is it?
No, really, it's not. And that's kind of the same story from what we've seen all across the area. Talked about up until the forecast, it was a race between that line and the instability here at home. And